Hi, welcome back to the screencast for LSSL 5385. This particular screencast has to do with blogging, and you're going to see it in two parts. The first part will talk about the basic elements of the blog, and then in the second part of the screencast, I will walk you through and show you what a blog post should look like and how to construct it. As you can see, this assignment is worth 100 points. This is where you're going to be blogging about the 25 books that you've read for the course, the 11 that are required for everybody to read, and then the other 14 where you have choice either from lists or by authors. So here's where you'll be reporting on all that reading by creating a blog. The first thing you need to know is that you need to create a blog site. Please note, though, that if you already have a blog site that you created for another course, you may simply use it here and just add this component to it, making sure that I know where I'm going to find these blog posts. So at the blog, you'll write about these 25 books, and your blog entries will include the following: a bibliographic citation using correct APA format. If you look at the first page of the syllabus, you will see that I'm using APA format for those 11 required books. If you are unfamiliar with APA format, there are wonderful websites out there for you to look at. There are also apps and websites that will put your information into APA format should you decide to do that. Things like Cite This, Bib This are things that you can do. You will also include a cover for the book. You can go out and grab that cover wherever you like. You can do a search of Google Images. You can go to Goodreads or Amazon or Tidal Wave and simply copy those covers as a JPEG and then put that JPEG in there. But always, always, always have a cover of the book there. The next piece will be a brief summary of the book. That should be between 100 and 150 words. There's more information about how to do that summary at Live Binders under Assignments and then under Blog there. But basically, for fiction, you're talking about who's the main character, what's the problem, how does the character go about solving the problem, and how does the story end. You are giving me the complete story here. You would not do that with kids, but for me, this is proof that you've read the book, so you're doing it there. Then for nonfiction, you would talk about what's the general subject of the book, what are the major divisions, categories, facts you learned, what kind of extras does it have, a glossary, appendices, things like that. So instead of a summary of fiction, you'd give me a summary of a nonfiction book. The second part, and not a separate paragraph necessarily, but the second part of the annotation is to give me some comment on the strengths and weaknesses of the book. You can use the criteria from the textbook. I've also given you some questions that you can answer at Live Binder, so you can go and look for those there. And then give me some connections to the book. What are other books that are similar in theme? Is there a book trailer available here? Is there a teaching idea that you can do? Can you go out and give me those connections? In many cases, you don't have to reinvent these things. You simply have to give me links. The final thing that you're going to be asked to do for the books that you're reading are give me connections to the textbook that tie the reading to something you learned. That's going to go in the textbook chart. That's going to be a separate screencast. So this is part one of how to do a blog. Part two is going to be to look at the blog itself. Okay, here's part two. For part two, I've created a sample blog, and you can see here's the URL right up here. So if you want to go take a look at it, you can. It's LSSL 5385 sample blog.blogspot.com. Sorry, I couldn't read all that suddenly. And I've put two separate postings here so you can kind of see what I'm looking at. If you have a Gmail account, you can have a free blog account. It's as simple as that. If you don't have a Gmail account, go out and get one. They are free, and I find them terribly handy. I have 4 different Gmail accounts, and one of them is simply to give to people who ask for my email in stores, and I know that they're just going to send me a lot of spam, and here's a coupon. So I use one of those just to get all that dumped out of my personal email. This particular Gmail account, terrylassane@gmail.com, is my personal account where I have something separate from the university. So basically, with a Gmail account, I can set up a blog with no problem at all. You can set up the design that you want. You can set up the background, the colors, and everything else. What I've given you here is a fairly simple kind of background, something that doesn't really distract too much from the blog itself. Please be very careful when you're choosing your design. You can see design is one of the clicks that you can do right here, where you can pick all kinds of different designs to do. I tend to stick with simple designs because the more complicated it gets, the less you're able to focus on the blog and the more you're looking at kind of the busyness of the blog. And so you can see that the one I have here is just a really simple one. It's actually called Simple. There's one here that has a library kind of background on it. That's always fun. Some people have opted for this, which is very spring-like. Those are all fine, but please bear in mind that as you're doing your design, you want to have something that is going to be readable on the part of the person who's coming to your blog for whatever information. So I tend to keep the type big. I tend to keep the type simple, black text on a white background. I just think it's better if you want to get more art-like in your design, that's absolutely fine to do. Just make sure that when we click on your page and we go to look, we can see what it is that you're trying to say to us, and I don't have to try to decipher it in any way. So here are two postings that I made. This is the Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian. That's one of the required books for this course. And so you'll see that the first piece right here is the bibliographic citation using APA format. So it's author, comma, first initial of author, period, parentheses, date of publication, close parentheses, period, title with only important words capitalized. So the Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian has the first word, and in this case, Indian capitalized, then period. Notice I used italics for the title. The place of publication, 9 times out of 10, that's going to be New York, colon, publisher, Little Brown, period. That is the citation. Even though each separate blog post is only worth 4 points each, you can lose an entire point if it's not in correct APA format. You could also lose a point, oops, again, did not mean to do that. You can also lose a point if, just a second, there we go, if you do not have a cover for the book. And so as you're reading the books, make sure that you're gathering up those JPEGs so you have them on hand. So that's the second part. Third part of the annotation is your summary, which answers the questions I've posed at LiveBinder. So who's the main character? What's the problem? How does he go about solving it? How does the story end? And then the next part has to do with your response to the book. And that's the last piece of this right here. I talked about how the book made me feel. I talked about some touch points to the text that I noticed here in the book. It will vary from post to post what I include. I've included this, and I've also included a post here about the chocolate war, so that you can see here are two separate blog entries. You can kind of see that they're very similar in terms of how you put them together. There shouldn't be any kind of a problem here. I would encourage you to, as you finish reading, get all your materials together, create, post your blog. I know a lot of people for whom, when I check and I look at blog archive, will have posted everything on the last week of the course. And I just really think it's better if you post as you go along. That, of course, is up to you. There will be no points either awarded or taken away for when you post them. I'm just simply saying it's easier to keep up if this is what you're doing. And of course, if you're trying to get a jump start on the reading and the assignments for the course, this is one way you can do it. So I hope this helps you then construct your blog. While it will take some time to put it together, I think once you've done 2 or 3 blog posts, you'll find that it goes pretty routinely from there. So this should help you now create the blog for the course.